So John Pombe Magufuli is the president-elect of the Republic of Tanzania. Lots of anxiety in Zanzibar and back home. An admission that perhaps corruption is very deep-rooted at all levels of government. This is KTN Prime. We thank you for joining us. Let me bring in my colleague John Alanamu, who's been keeping an eye on what has been happening in Tanzania, even as that announcement was being made that John Magufuli is the president-elect of the Republic of Tanzania. The opposition raising a few concerns as well. John.
Well, yes, we are here at the Cocoa Beach. Beautiful night here, just overseeing the harbor and overseeing what was an election to behold here in Tanzania. Of course, very, very controversial for Chadema, but a very auspicious evening for CCM. We've got January Makamba standing by to speak to us about that victory, as well as all of the stories and the action from the day here in Dar es Salaam. Linda.
All right, John, we'll get back to you in a few minutes, but for now, let's take a look at the top stories tonight.
Now it has been confirmed that the three arms of government
What a story,
are corrupt.
Corruption is deep-rooted in the entire Kenyan government, but don't blame Uhuru, Duale says.
Mheshimiwa Dr. Magufuli John Pombe Joseph amechaguliwa kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
CCM takes it. Tanzania's ruling party candidate Magufuli poised to be the next president.
The board has forwarded the list of all suspect NGOs to Central Bank of Kenya and Kenya Bankers Association to freeze their bank accounts until they comply with the various regulations of the Act.
Don't intimidate the civil society. Human Rights Watch says of NGO Deregistration Threat. And now the Chinese can have 2 children each. China drops one-child policy.
Marisha Witty is our sign language interpreter. I'm Linda Goto. Thank you for joining us. We begin here in Kenya, where the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Edin Duale, has admitted that corruption is overwhelmingly deep-rooted in all levels of government. He has, however, asked Kenyans not to blame President Uhuru Kenyatta over the crisis, saying the president has done all he can to clean the system of leaders alleged to be corrupt.
As the pressure continues on Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta to show results in the fight against corruption, the Jubilee man in the National Assembly, Majority Leader Aden Duale, admitted corruption is overwhelmingly deep-rooted.
Now it has been confirmed that the three arms of government are corrupt.
Duale's comments come as the country begins to ask questions about what really came out of the purge triggered by the so-called list of shame given to Parliament by the President early this year.
It's the first time in the history of Kenya for a head of state to come with a folder in his address to the nation. And in that folder, there were very key ministers who were very close to the president and the deputy president. And until today, those members from the executive are still under investigation. And until they are cleared, nobody will come back. The spotlight is on those independent institutions that have the constitutional mandate to fight corruption.
But Duale was out to deal with more than just the issue of corruption. Wednesday evening, opposition MPs in the National Assembly, led by Minority Leader Francis Nyenze, stormed out of the chambers after failing to garner 2/3 majority vote in the House to overturn the President's introduction of 10 shillings excess tax per litre of fruit juices under the Excise Duty Bill 2015. The opposition MPs accused President Uhuru Kenyatta of legislating for Parliament. They even threatened to move to the Constitutional Court to seek interpretation on the possible abuse of power by the President.
The power that they have given to the members of National Assembly has been eroded by the executive through the back door. We have seen over the last 1 year that the executive has been, through presidential assent, sending back bills that Parliament passes to back to Parliament with the President's recommendation. And in the Constitution, it should not be recommendations.
Article 115 gives anybody who is the president And now for now it's Uhuru Kenyatta to use the application of that article. If you have a problem with it, what you do, you bring an amendment, a constitutional amendment, to remove it.
All the bills referred back to Parliament with the President's amendments have passed unchanged in the Jubilee-dominated House, a fact that has frustrated the opposition.
The President will return a memoranda. Now there are two ways. Then the memoranda is referred to the committee. They check the President's memoranda. They can agree to come to a middle ground with the President, where they don't need a two-thirds majority. And in that scenario, the amendment must be similar, not fundamentally different, with the reservation of the President.
On Saturday, CORD leader Raila Odinga told the Standard on Sunday that he was still waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta's response to his challenge that he gets up and report back on duty and address corruption and economic crisis facing the nation. Raila says he directed his statement to his worthy competitor in the 2013 polls, but Duale has told off Raila.
Raila has no constitutional mandate to ask the President to respond to him. He only competed with the President. He lost to the President. He was number 2, and in elections, number 2 and number last are all the same.
Interestingly, Raila told the Sunday Standard that his statement was weighty and cannot be responded to by members of Parliament whose institution is completely different from the executive. Raila argued Duale cannot respond for the President since he is not a spokesman for the Jubilee administration.
Whether I'm in my constituency or in Bunge or everywhere, prepare yourself psychologically, I'll be the one answering you. You will never be answered by Uhuru, and you will never be answered by Ruto.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
So Leader of Majority Eden Duale is asking Kenyans not to blame the President over corruption in the country. So tonight, that's from the basis of our big question tonight. We're asking for your opinion. What do you think? You've been seeing what has been happening in the country. Of course, lots of cases of corruption going on. Is the executive blameless over the crisis of corruption in government? Is the executive blameless over the crisis of corruption in government? Let us know what you think. Tweet us at KTN News, at KTN Kenya. You can tweet me directly at Lindo Gutu. Here's the thing, you can also send a short message to the number 22155. That line is absolutely free for you. I'll sample some of your views during this bulletin. It would be important to know what you think about the issue of corruption in the country and whether or not you think the executive is blameless. Well, still in Kenya, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich has once more denied claims that the country is facing a financial crisis. Rotich told the Kenyan National Assembly today that Kenya's debt situation is way better than that of some developed economies like Japan. But he confirmed that the government will still borrow some more to dilute the country's cash shortfall, which has threatened to bring the economy to its knees.
The Office of the Control of Budget does not have any mandate in procuring any debt by the government.
A statement which ignited a political storm after it emerged that the government unilaterally withdrew 54 billion shillings from an offshore account where the 275 billion Eurobond cash was deposited. The purpose of the said withdrawal was to clear the government debts. And on Thursday, the National Assembly finally grilled Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich over the issue and demanded for answers over high interest rates, despite the promise made by the government just last year that the Eurobond would help to drastically lower the rates.
What are we doing? When are interest rates going to come down? Number two, what are we doing to contain wastage?
I just want to assure that interest rates are beginning to fall, and they will continue to fall to levels that will match the liquidity conditions in the country.
Appearing before the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Rotich denied claims that the country is sinking to financial insolvency, arguing that the country's debt was only 53% the size of the economy and way smaller compared to loans taken by such countries as Japan, whose gross domestic product is 3 times that of Kenya.
If I was just to give you comparative figures with other countries, Japan is 200%. But that is Japan. US,
we are comparing apples with oranges. Japan is
that is apples and apples, because it is the size of their GDP.
But Rotich announced that the local interest rates would still remain high, well, until the country contains the high inflation rate, adding that the cash crunch currently being experienced in the country will be resolved through some more borrowing.
So these are issues that makes cash planning a little bit challenging in our part. But we are zeroing in to improve that area.
But as the war of words continues between the national leaders over the utilization of the ambitiously borrowed billions of shillings, the victims of these high interest rates are still waiting for the fruits of the promise made by the government over a year ago that the Eurobond would come to their rescue. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, let's focus our attention to Tanzania, and the numbers are in. John Pombe Magufuli is the president-elect of the Republic of Tanzania. In essence, he will be the 5th president of the Republic of Tanzania. And of course, the opposition, they're raising its concerns on the tallying process. Lots of excitement from different quarters of Tanzania. Let me bring in John Alanamu, who's been covering the elections for us. John, what has been going on from your end?
Well, what's been going on is that since KTN called that election at about 12:46, it followed trends like clockwork, and at about 4 p.m., John Pombe Magufuli was declared president of the Republic of Tanzania, him becoming the 5th president of the Republic, as well as the 5th president under CCM. Let's just go to that decision, or rather that statement that was made by Damian Lubuva, the retired justice who heads the National Elections Commission now.
Kwa kuwa Mheshimiwa Dr. Magufuli John Pombe Joseph wa CCM amepata kura nyingi zaidi kuliko mgombea mwingine yeyote, kwa niaba ya Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi na kwa mujibu wa vifungu vya 35E 35F8 na 81B vya Sheria ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi sura 343, ninatangaza rasmi matokeo ya uchaguzi wa uraisi wa mwaka 2015 kwamba: moja, Mheshimiwa Dr. Magufuli John Pombe Joseph amechaguliwa kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. 2, Mheshimiwa Samia Hassan Suluhu amechaguliwa kuwa makamu wa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
An historic victory for John Magufuli, but even more historic for his running mate, becoming the first deputy president of the Republic of Tanzania, female deputy president. Of course, there was celebration in CCM quarters, but not so much in Edward Loasa's quarters. Edward Loasa has been complaining about the manner in which this campaign has been run and this election itself has been run. Let's just go to Ben Kitili, who's been following the Loasa campaign and sat down with him through a press conference, and this is what he had to say.
So finally, the 2015 presidential race here in Tanzania is done, and Chama cha Mapinduzi, the ruling party's presidential candidate, John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, has been declared by the National Elections Commission the 5th president of the United Republic of Tanzania, garnering a total of 8.8 million votes. Second was Edward Lowassa of the Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, Chadema, who was able to garner 6.0 million votes. Now, Chadema's Edward Lowassa has again disputed that tally and that election that was announced by the National Elections Commission, saying that he did do his own tallying. The Chadema party did do their own tallying at their own parallel tallying centers, and he did give his own numbers, calling on the Damian Lubuva-led National Elections Commission to declare him, Lowassa, the winner of this presidential election.
Takwimu zetu sisi zilionyesha kwamba nilikuwa naongoza kwa zaidi ya 67%, na sasa nimejiridhisha kwamba nimepata kura 10,268,795, sawa na 62% baada ya kukamilisha kazi ya kukusanya fomu za matokeo nchi nzima. Kwa hali hii, ninaitaka Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi initangaze mara moja kwamba mimi Edward Lowassa Ngoya Lowassa ndiye mshindi. Naendelea kuwashukuru wananchi kwa imani yenu kwangu na kwa kunichagua. Mimi pamoja na viongozi wenzangu tunaamini kuwa kuchezea demokrasia ni kuvunja amani. Lakini sote tunatambua ninyi wa Tanzania ndio mnaoporwa haki yenu ya kupata mabadiliko.
But another battle is the parliamentary battle, the 357-member parliament of Tanzania, out of which 264 are elected members of parliament. Now, in the last parliament, Chadema had 23 members of parliament, while the CUF, the Civic United Front, that is very popular in Zanzibar, had a total of 24 members of parliament. They have more members of parliament in this election, despite their presidential candidate Lowassa losing the presidential race. Now, Lowassa also did talk about that, saying that CCM, making these very strong allegations that CCM worked with the National Election Commission to defraud the opposition coalition of some of those members of parliament.
Kwanza, upunguzaji wa kura zangu. Pili, kuongeza kura kwa mgombea wa CCM. Tatu, tunaendelea kukataa dhuluma dhidi ya matakwa ya wananchi na jaribio la kutaka kubaki kwa demokrasia kunaonekana wazi kutokana na mwenendo wa tume kuendelea kutangaza matokeo ya kura yasiyo ya kweli kwa kupoka ushindi wetu. Aidha, kumekuwepo pia na uporaji wa ushindi wa wagombea wa vyama vya Ukawa kwenye ngazi ya ubunge na udiwani.
It is not clear the next course of action by Chadema and the Ukawa coalition leaders, because the constitution of Tanzania does not give way or space for the losing presidential candidate to challenge the presidential election in court.
Tunashangaa leo utawala wa Kikwete kuona vyama vya ulinzi na usalama vikitenda kila mahali wakiwa na silaha za kivita mitaani kana kwamba uchaguzi ni vita. Hii ni kuwatisha wananchi ili wakubali kunyang'anywa haki yao. Kunyang'anywa haki yao ya msingi ya kuchagua viongozi wanaowataka. Ninaamini Watanzania mtakubali hali hiyo. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza.
That is the dilemma that is facing Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, Chadema, and the Ukawa coalition of opposition political party. There is a lacuna in the law. According to them, they don't know how to dispute the presidential election since the National Elections Commission has already called it. Measured celebrations by CCM supporters here in the commercial capital, Dar es Salaam. Heavy presence of security forces. 2015 presidential election has been the most hotly contested presidential race since the introduction of multi-party politics here in Tanzania. But the Chama cha Mapinduzi has again maintained its status as arguably one of Africa's two biggest political movements. Whether Chadema and Ukawa supporters agree with that, and whatever they choose to do about it legally remains to be seen. But the decision has been made. On his birthday, John Pombe Joseph Magufuli is the 5th president of the United Republic of Tanzania. Ben Kitili, KTN News, Masaki, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
All right, well, joining me now is a member of the National Executive Committee of that oldest party in Tanzania and perhaps one of the biggest parties, politically speaking, in Africa, CCM. That's January Makamba. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, pleasure is mine, John.
Must be an auspicious evening for you this evening, not so much for the Lowassa campaign. Let's just get into some of the claims that Edward Lowassa made. But specific beyond the claims is the issue of the constitutionality or the lack of room that he has to challenge an electoral result. Is that something that you as January Makamba or as a representative of CCM will be reconsidering going forward?
Of course, we went into this election, all of us, clearly aware that that option is not available. So you cannot get to the end of election and then complaining that that option is not available. The rationale for unavailability of this option is historic, but we have decided as a party and as a country, when we were going through the constitutional review process last year and early this year, to change that provision. So as CCM, we are in support of an idea of challenging or petitioning the presidential vote.
All right, Edward Lowassa also complaining that perhaps he wasn't being heard as much as members of the CCM whenever he talked about some of the challenges that were presented to him in this campaign to the NEC. He feels like he wasn't being heard. You also made some complaints about problems in different constituencies as CCM, and that made it to the front page of a newspaper, and it seems like those concerns were heard. Is this the truth?
First of all, up to the closing day of the campaign, the 24th, they were very confident of victory, and they said it in public. So you cannot say that you have had complaints that were not being heard when the last day of campaigning you clearly had no complaints. We have raised issues which are very specific in very specific constituencies that we felt that the will of the people has not been materialized, and we said that we're going to challenge those results in those particular seats for members of parliament, and we wait to see whether we will prevail. We haven't it's not that we have gone ahead and succeeded, so I suppose the avenues, the legal avenues that are available to Mr. Lowassa, given the parameters of the law, are still available.
All right, let's think about John Magufuli's presidency now, president-elect, of course. He ran on a ticket of change. How much change can a party that's been around for quite some time now, the oldest party in Tanzania, present, considering that the president-elect himself has been a member of a party for as long as perhaps I've been alive? What kind of change is he going to bring that Tanzanians haven't seen?
It is true. I mean, all of us ran on change. But there is change and there's quality of leadership. So those two dynamics were in play in this election. Eventually, if you sell change, as Lowassa did, while you also have been in part of the establishment for the past 40 years, it's very difficult for people to buy it. Now, if you put in scale between our candidate, Mr. Magufuli, and Mr. Lowassa, and measure the level and the quality of leadership among the two candidates, the choice was clear. And also, if you do the change scale as well, Magufuli represented, outsider, fresh face compared to Mr. Lowassa. So, for us, it was quite interesting that the opposition, who normally it's easier for them to run on change, chose a candidate which make it difficult for them to run on change.
All right, final question before I let you go, January. You were part of the nomination process within CCM, also running for that ticket to run as a presidential aspirant. Is this the last we've seen of January Makamba as a presidential candidate? Are we seeing 5 years down the line perhaps a challenge to John Magufuli from yourself?
No, I ran for my seat as an MP. This is the job that I actively seek, so I'm just looking forward to be an MP for Bumbuli and serve my people.
All right, 5 years down the line though?
No, not at all. I mean, we have a tradition here to let our president, run for two terms.
So then 10 years then?
I'm not sure. Politics is a very long and unpredictable game. So you cannot serve the people now while thinking about running for the present and the future. You will not be able to function. So I'm focused on serving my people that have elected me as an MP.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Very
this
good
evening.
work, KTN, in this coverage. I hope you open a bureau here.
Well, it's a tradition here at KTN, so
Brilliant.
we're not surprised. Lakini asante sana. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
This, of course, is January Makamba, Member of Parliament for Bumbuli, and of course, part of the National Executive Committee here of CCM. Let's just move to some of the celebrations that we saw throughout the day. They may have been muted in parts of the country on behalf of CCM, but of course, there were celebrations for the presidency of John Magufuli. Let's go to Francis Ontomo's story now.
Mheshimiwa Dr. Magufuli John Pombe Joseph amechaguliwa kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
An announcement that will send the Chama cha Mapinduzi supporters into joyous delirium. Celebration rent the air in Dar es Salaam as Tanzania's fate was finally decided 4 days after the historic vote.
Nimefurahi sana. Magufuli oye, aliselema alija, selema Magufuli oye, CCM oye.
Yaani ndugu yangu, kwanza napokaa ni shida, wao pinzani wanipi kero na shinda za kufurahi. Yaani ni shida, nimefurahi kwa jani na shinda nifanye nini? Yaani nashukuru sana, shughuli za kimataifa ziendelee bwana.
Kwa kweli nafurahi sana. Tena sana kwa kupata mheshimiwa wetu huyu ambaye hapa ni kazi tu. Hakuna kingine. Zaidi hapa ni kazi tu.
These supporters converged outside the CCM party headquarters, donning what is now the all too familiar green and yellow colors of the Independence Party, respite from a strengthened opposition for 5 more years.
Mungu aendelee kumkuza katika kimo cha utimilifu wa Kristo Yesu. Amen. Kama mti uliopandwa pembeni ya kijito cha maji, usiokauka matunda daima na daima, kizazi hata kizazi, jani la tumbo lake lisikauke.
Their hopes that the man of the moment will emerge and address them weren't fulfilled, but this did not dampen the spirits. Magufuli will be issued with a formal certificate by the National Elections Commissions tomorrow, and thereafter hold a rally to thank his supporters.
Nimefurahi sana leo kwa sababu tumepata ushindi wa nguvu. Tumewapiga chini, ukawa hawana nguvu tena, wamenywea.
Bwana Lowassa, mimi nachomshauri kwamba akubali matokeo tu, ili nchi yetu iwe na amani na upendo kama kawaida.
Dotting the fringes of this celebration were a restrained opposition party supporters resigned to their fate in a country whose first leader's abiding motto was talk, don't shout.
Niwaeleza kwamba wawe na amani, watulie, wajipange miaka 5 ijayo.
Akubali, asakubali si mshindani. Lazima akubali kimya, ndio atulie kimya yeye.
The Chama cha Mapinduzi, which loosely translates to the Party of Revolution, was formed in 1977 following the merger of the Tanganyika African National Union and the Afro-Shirazi Party, the main parties in independent Tanzania and the semi-autonomous islands of Zanzibar, respectively.
Wanaosema CCM haina pumzi huwa hawaelewi, hawasomi alama za nyakati. Lakini kwa mtu anayesoma alama za nyakati, CCM ina akiba ya kutosha, CCM ina hazina ya kutosha, ina vijana, ina wazee madhubuti. Kwa hiyo waliosema mambo hayo wamepagawa.
Kwa kweli ushindani ulikuwa mkubwa, siwezi kusema uongo, na ukweli kwamba vijana wamejitokeza kwa wingi sana, na tumeshukuru kupata mzee wetu huyu.
Magufuli was in high school when this happened, and on his 56th birthday takes up Tanzania's grand old party legacy after a campaign in which both sides were permeated by one word: change.
It's history in the making here in Tanzania, and indeed a huge carnival mood here at the Chama cha Mapinduzi headquarters in the city of Dar es Salaam. Yet again the Independence Party asserting itself as the party to beat in the politics of Tanzania. Indeed a huge happy birthday for John Pombe Magufuli, who now emerges as the 5th president of the Republic of Tanzania. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Sema. Mazeni nimeshiona petro. 500 bob is okay? Sawa. Hello mama.
Kijana wangu, nahitaji shilingi 500 ninunulie kuku chakula.
Sawa mama.
Asante.
personal to business to financial to international transactions, Kenya runs on M-Pesa.
Everything seems okay, but he's always waking at night and he's so irritable.
Look, his diaper's wet.
Wet? It never leaks.
Maybe outside, but look, his skin's wet inside, which could wake him.
Oh, so what should I do?
Try new Pampers Baby Dry. They have the super gel inside, so Juma stays dry, sleeps well, and wakes up happy.
How is a legend made? It is made by making the right choice for a start. It is made by going where others don't to find the finest. It comes from being bold enough to give things time when others may not. A legend is crafted, considered. It is many things coming together to create character, depth, and a legend. Tusker Malt.
J5, J7.
Gas, source of a billion stars, soul of a 2,000-degree flame, and now a revolution in motor oil. Introducing Shell Helix Ultra, designed from natural gas with Pure Plus technology. No other motor oil cleans your engine better. Shell Helix Ultra with Pure Plus technology.
This week on KTN.
Pregnant? Relax. Resolution Insurance offers medical plans with high cover for normal and cesarean sections, including Lamar's classes and home deliveries. Do you have a plan?
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's bring you back into the country and focus on another story that has gripped the nation. That is the threat of deregistration of over 900 non-governmental organizations. The NGO Coordination Board has come under sharp criticism, with the Human Rights Watch saying it is attempting to intimidate the Kenyan civil society with the new threats. The NGO Board claimed their investigations had highlighted gross lack of financial accountability among 957 NGOs.
Among the 957 non-governmental organizations listed by the board are some that have allegedly not been submitting required audit reports to the board. Some have allegedly been submitting 2 sets of conflicting financial records to donors and the government. This, according to the board secretariat, is an indicator of dubious financial activities that warrants further investigations.
Following the recently released annual NGO sector report, it is apparent that the NGO sector received in excess of 140 billion, and this was injected into the Kenyan economy. It is also clear that out of the Kenya shillings 140 billion Kenya shillings, 23 billion could not accounted for the following reasons. 1, misappropriation and embezzlement of funds by NGOs of the donor funds. 2, diversion of donor funds, and this is very key. 3, we have other NGOs which are involved in money laundering activities. 4, we have creative accounting, where NGOs prepare 2 sets books of account, one for the government and one for the donor. And sometimes we also have some NGOs that also are involved in terrorism financing.
The African Population and Health Research Center has allegedly been rendering 2 sets of different accounts over the years. The NGO is claimed to have filed returns indicating an income of 6.736 million shillings to the board, while in the same financial year, it allegedly filed to its donors audit accounts of 5.872 billion. In response to the allegations, the NGO released a statement that denied the allegations of financial impropriety being made by the NGO's coordination board. The NGO termed the claims as a gross misrepresentation of the organization, as the information about 2 legal entities had been harmonized.
The NGO board has since carried out forensic audit of 10,015 NGOs registered under the NGOs Coordination Act of 1990 and has established that a total of 957 NGOs have failed, refused, neglected and or declined to account for the funds they received, despite the numerous reminders issued to them by the board. The board, following investigation, has also discovered that the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which is one of the human rights organizations in Kenya, is operating 4 illegal bank accounts without approval by the board, and has been filing false reports with the board with glaring discrepancies in its annual returns and audited accounts with a total income of 1.2 billion Kenya shillings.
In light of these alleged contraventions of the NGO Act 1990, the board has rolled out a list of consequences that include deregistration, freezing of financial assets, and investigation by the Financial Reporting Center and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation that may culminate in prosecution. Fazul Mohammed declined to name NGOs that had been found to be laundering money and funding terror activities, but said that the names of such NGOs had been sent to the Central Bank and the Kenya Bankers Association to freeze their assets. Trixingado, KTN News.
Let's cross borders now and focus on China, which has announced the end of its hugely controversial one-child policy. Couples in China are now allowed to have 2 children. The policy restricted most couples to only a single offspring, and for years authorities argued that it was a key contributor to China's economic boom.
Beijing residents expressed support for the easing of family planning restrictions. After decades of a one-child family policy, the government has moved to allow 2-child families. The policy is a major liberalization for the one-party state, which already eased restrictions in late 2013 when Beijing said it would allow more families to have 2 children, providing the parents meet certain conditions. The decision was met with joy by Chinese citizens, particularly the younger generation.
I think easing of the one-child policy now is appropriate timing. The issue of aging is rising while the ratio of young people is decreasing. We all think the demographic structure has been improved gradually. Actually, we need more young people, newborn babies, to improve demographic structure. I think, forward-looking, the whole family planning policy will be lifted.
A growing number of scholars had urged the government to reform the rules introduced in the late 1970s to prevent population growth spiraling out of control. Now it's regarded as outdated and responsible for shrinking China's labor pool. For the first time in decades, the working age population fell in 2012. The announcement was made at the close of a key Communist Party meeting focused on financial reforms and maintaining growth between 2016 and 2020 due to concerns over the country's slowing economy.
I think this policy is kind of an improvement in human rights. I think how many babies depend on the personal rights of citizens. China used to have some limitations on it due to the country's policy, but with the economy improving and after reform opening up, the policy was implemented. China's demographic dividend policy also needed a policy that can allow people to have more babies. So I think as young people, we are very supportive of this policy.
Couples who flout family planning laws in China are at a minimum fined. Some lose their jobs, and in some cases, mothers are forced to abort their babies or be sterilized. However, there are no immediate details on the new policy or a time frame for the implementation. Zinzi Kibiku, KTN News.
My name is Josephat Nanok. I'm the governor of Turkana County. Welcome to Turkana.
Welcome to Turkana, a premier investment destination with opportunities as vast as the county.
I can't think of another county in Kenya that offers the same potential over the next 10 years.
The Turkana County government welcomes you to its first ever International Investment Conference from the 5th to the 7th November 2015.
There comes a time in our lives when we have to decide what mark we want to leave, where we ask, when the children of tomorrow look at the country they borrowed from us, what will they say about us? That we left them strong buildings, great roads, high-tech equipment, or is it something more resilient, something cemented into who we are as a people and woven into our national DNA? That we taught them the importance of working hard, of earning your bread, of being the best you can, which is why at the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, we recognize that the values we choose to live will long outlive any strip of cement. Why? Behind everything we do are the principles of transparency, fairness, equity, and of course equal pay for work of equal value. Why? We do our part in working with Kenyans to cultivate a society where doing the best you can becomes a national standard, because that is what we want our legacy to be. A nation that continues to flourish long into tomorrow. Salaries and Remuneration Commission, rewarding productivity.
Hapa unaona mafuta ya kupika, Bogwa fry, Karaja washing powder, shipping to Addis Ababa tonight. Unaona Karaja margarine, unapaka kwa mkate asubuhi. Karambu power detergent, named after Karaja and Bogwa. I have branches in Mombasa and Kisumu connected to my headquarters here with Viber Connect 1 at only 9,000 Kenya shillings per month. I am able to keep track of inventory, all the sales, and even who is not performing and always coming late to work. To play solitaire and Facebook all day. Ni mimi Bogwa ninawalipa, sio Zuka Baga. Munajijua nitawapata.
Fiber Connect gives you a direct pay-to-pay connection from point A to point B. Call Njami Telecommunications to get connected. This is Fiber.
We are calling on the team.
KTN Business Today, in association with Safaricom. Improve your business efficiency with our fixed line service. To get connected to Zidisha plus landline, send the word Zidisha to 21366 today.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now take a look at business news. The Kenya Commercial Bank Group has raised to a profit before tax of 19.4 billion shillings in the 9 months to September. The bank's profitability was driven by growth in lending that saw interest income rise 10% to 28.4 billion shillings. And as KTN's Joy Doreen Bira reports, the bank is looking to the Ethiopian market to grow its regional footprint.
Lending more, that is the strategy the Kenya Commercial Bank Group has used to grow the bank's net profit by 10% to 13.7 billion Kenya shillings in the 9 months to September 2015. During the 9-month period, interest income grew by 10% to 28.4 billion Kenya shillings. KCB has leveraged on its mobile banking platform KCB M-Pesa with Safaricom launched in March this year that has seen 4.5 billion Kenya shillings in loans disbursed to customers. On the same platform, KCB is targeting 5 million users by the end of this year. Also, in the 9 months to September 30th, the bank's total assets grew to 607.3 billion Kenya shillings, up from 451.6 billion Kenya shillings in the same period in 2014. Net loans and advances to customers rose 347.6 billion shillings, a 32% jump. KCB, Kenya's largest lender by market value, is now training its eyes on Ethiopia as the next addition to its international banking business. The bank has been granted regulatory approval to open a representative office, adding to its network in Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, and South Sudan. The bank's subsidiaries accounted for 12% of the group's profit in the period under review. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Business.
Kenyans stand to pay cheaper fuel prices with new investments in the petroleum product storage business fast taking shape. According to Vivo Energy Managing Director Polycarp Igathe, investment in storage tanks could spark a major price change on the cost of fuel. Igathe, while speaking after officiating the commissioning of the Farms 2 fuel tanks at its Mombasa depot, noted that the increased capacity will lower the firm's demurrage costs as it will be able to handle more volumes. The depot will have a total capacity of 14 million litres of petrol. The move increases the company's petrol storage to 22 million litres. The growing retail network in the region has prompted the need to increase fuel storage to better service the growing demand.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We invited you and you would have decided to go. Orders. Mr. Kahuko.
Those are wearing helmets. For today, it's okay. You don't need PPEs. So thank you very much. And
when you buy a liter of fuel at your petrol station, ideally it will have less demurrage. Demurrage is the cost ships charge us for waiting on the high seas before they dock in, because many ships would come and they're not able to discharge. So tanks like this cost money. The cost is in dollars. When the shilling depreciates by 16% and interest rates go to 26%, it means we are making less. And because we are in a price control environment, I take the opportunity to make an appeal that please consider wholesalers, not just we in Vivo Energy, even other companies, and give them an extra shilling of margin.
Kenyans will benefit from cheap services offered by the new African payment card brand Verve. Verve International has partnered with KCB to expand card acceptance and charge 30 to 50% less than competitors, targeting to extend its reach to Tanzania, Burundi, South Sudan and Rwanda. The Verve card will offer customers secure card features. The debit cards, which are likely to threaten the dominant positions of Visa, MasterCard and M-Pesa, are set to be introduced in Kenya early next year, and customers will be encouraged to use their cards with offers of cash rewards for each transaction. Kenyans with no bank accounts will also be able to use Verve prepaid cards and top up their balances at agents. Verve International is pursuing acceptance of the Verve card around the world.
That we now want consumers and merchants in East Africa to benefit from the same class-leading services Verve International provides our customers in West Africa.
Now we've gone through a lot of West Africa. We've started going through East Africa, like Richard mentioned. Once Verve is in several East African countries, we can have closer collaboration between East and West Africa, which will increase financial inclusion across the markets, as well as growth across all of these countries.
Standard Media Group are the official sponsors of this year's Company of the Year Awards. The awards seek to recognize excellence in corporates, both large and medium-sized enterprises. It is an annual fete organized by Kenya Institute of Management. Speaking during the presentation of checks by sponsors earlier today, Standard Group CEO Sam Shulei noted that the awards were timely as they would spur improved standards among companies in light of the changing economic tide in the country. The awards will see about 29 companies awarded after rigorous assessment on several thematic areas that touch on sound business practices. A total of 40 companies are taking part in this year's awards, with a gala night scheduled for the 6th of November 2015 at Safari Park in Nairobi. According to the CEO of the Kenya Institute of Management, Dr. Muturi David, the companies taking part have been benchmarked on a global scale and a model dubbed the Organizational Performance Index, popularly known as OPI. Business leaders emphasize the need for corporates to enhance accountability and transparency.
need to operate efficiently. And Koya has been an instrument that has been used by companies to improve their operational efficiency. I'm glad that over the years, the KIM team working with international partners have improved the way these awards are assessed and how companies are assessed, so that it is really more of a continuous improvement.
We are very pleased to launch the 15th Company of the Year, Koya and Smoya, with the Standard Group as our media partner, and our various sponsors, ICDC, UAP, the National AIDS Council, and the Manu Chandaria, all of whom have contributed hugely to making this year Company of the Year possible.
The Financial Report, in association with Techno Phantom 5. Live now. Techno Phantom 5. Techno Mobile. Experience more. Enjoy preferential calling rates with multiple functionalities of voice and SMS. Send the word Zidisha to 21366 and get your business connected to Zidisha today. This Sunday on Tukuza, we are raising the next generation. As we speak to the young people,
for a reason and for a fact, we have to start to focus to the young generation.
Bringing you life-changing stories.
I started seeing now the positives, and I started appreciating life.
And get up close with the gospel artists in spirit and truth. We also give you the best in gospel music on Tukuza Top 10 Countdown. Tukuza, we inspire, refresh, and connect as we raise an altar for God.
Hey guys, I'm Joed Karaoke. I play the role of Derek on New Beginnings.
It's Sean. He woke up from his coma yesterday.
What does this mean?
Derek, do you know what time it is? Where are you?
I'm stuck at work. I'll be home very late.
My name is Lexi. We can't raise a family based on lies.
I could say the same thing about you.
What is Julia supposed to do with a husband with no job?
You talk about all the time how I suck, but you're just looking for a reason so that you, Sean, and Jimmy can have a happy little family. I'll take over from here. Let's go, sweetheart.
Get booked again and win with Guinness. Simply buy a Guinness. Text the code Under the Crown to 21199 and you could win airtime, cash prizes, or a trip to watch a live match in the UK. Guinness, made of more.
Ovid Nobis relaxes like no other. Oh, oh, retouch your hair with Movit Nobis. It strengthens and conditions. Oh, oh, leaving your hair smooth and silky and looking so healthy.
After every hair retouch, wash well with Movit Neutralizing Hair Shampoo, then apply Movit Leave-In. Always remember to put Movit Setting Lotion before going to the dryer. For a healthy scalp and a good hair shine, use Movit Avocado Oil. Our pride is your beautiful hair.
They are all winners! With Movit No Best, you can also be a winner!
Movit, all day confidence.
We are calling on the team.
KTN Sports in association with Tusker. Tusker, tuende kazi. Dial *896# to join Team Kenya.
And it's now time for KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. The Football Kenya Electoral Board, which has been mandated to run the forthcoming Football Kenya Federation elections, insists that it will do whatever it takes to make sure that the FKF electoral process is free, fair and credible. The board met presidential aspirants to discuss on important issues regarding the elections, a meeting that the current president, that is Sam Nyamoya, did not attend.
Since it was inaugurated in late September, the Football Kenya Electoral Board has come under intense pressure to give an agreed upon roadmap for the forthcoming elections. The board has been silent, and this has caused jitters amongst the football fraternity.
We are very independent, although formed by FKF AGM, which is a process. We're legally in office, we've taken over. We are running this process, ensuring that whoever wants to contest, whoever wants to be in football, can come and be in football.
The board members met FKF presidential aspirants who wanted certain issues addressed. Conspicuously absent was the FKF incumbent chairman Sam Nyamoya, who has been giving such sittings a wide berth.
According to us, the cabinet is still aspirant. He's still in office. These gentlemen are aspirants, when we are treating all of them in one level playing for the purpose of these elections. They're all aspirants. They've got the right to speak. They've got the right to go to the press. They've got the right to attack us. But we shall not curve or bend the rules so that one person is listened to.
The elections were to be held on the 13th of November. However, issues beyond the board made the postponement necessary. Elections will commence on 26th of November at the sub-branch level, while the branch elections are slated for 3rd of December. The main elections will be conducted 7 days later.
The funding of the elections, we've written to FIFA, being the helm of the football. We've already also requested that the Football Federation of Kenya to hand us money that they may have reserved for the elections. We've also requested some individuals that would think love football like we do to come in and chip in to fund this election.
The board has also approached 3 institutions that will assist in the club's verification, another thorny issue that has caused uproar. The institutions, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa, ESA, and the Institute for Education and Democracy, IED. The deadline for submitting nomination fees has also been extended to 11th of November. Abdullah Ahmed, KTN Sports.
And let's hope that the election will be indeed free and fair. Moving on. Athletes taking part in this year's CAS Marathon for the first time will have to go through the most challenging marathon course in the country. With numerous bumps and bends defining the course of this marathon, some of the coaches feel like the bumps should be eliminated so as to make the course easier for the athletes. The marathon will take place on the 15th of November this year.
Eclipse everyone else or
the CAS International Marathon course has always been termed as the most challenging and hard to navigate. The history of the course dates back to 1952 when Queen Elizabeth visited Kapsabet. Save for some few adjustments, the course remains as challenging even to the ardent of athletes, making it one of the best and competitive marathons in the world. The marathon course can be compared to the Mexican City Marathon, which has numerous turns. The high-altitude marathon is a point-to-point marathon with 11 turns and 4 elevations in Chebarbar, Chepterit, Kosirai and the Eldoret International Airports. The marathon is in contrast to other international marathons which have less turns, such as Boston Marathon, which has only 3 turns, a factor which has gone on to favor athletes later.
First of all, you start going downhill, and then immediately you climb Chebarbar, which is another disaster. Immediately there is another hill also before Chebarbar, before you get to Mosoriot. There is a small hill there. And also there's almost about, I don't know how many hills, about 4. So it makes people, and also these hills you have to know it is altitude. Yeah. When it is hills and low altitude, there is no problem.
Due to its nature, some coaches feel that in future, some bumps along the road should be eliminated to even the course to avoid giving marathoners more hurdles that end up slowing them down and posting slower times.
Pens is not bad, but you know, what happens is that there is pens and bumps.
Yes.
So the bumps is the question that we have. I think in future we have to see into it, and we have to feel it before the competition. And then we can put it later. If we want the competition to be standardized.
2011 Boston Marathon winner Geoffrey Mutai is among the stars that have gone on to conquer the world after taking part in CAS Marathon in 2007.
And now to the matters Kenya Premier League, where we only have one matches. Each team will play a single match so as to wind up this edition of the 2015 KPL. And the matches will be played on Sunday, where Nakuru All Stars is going to host Ushuru, and Gor Mahia, the champions already just waiting to be crowned, are going to be taking Moroni Youth, a side that has not been that impressive. Actually, a side that has been impressive rather the second edition of the tournament, and they're currently gone 15 matches without losing a single one. City Stars will take Sony Sugar. Remember, City Stars secured 3 points in their last tie against Ushuru, and they hope they're going to survive relegation this time round. Chemil Sugar are going to play Mathare United. It's going to be a very entertaining match, and we're going to see what happens there. KCB, they're going to lack Paul Kiongera, who received a suspension after getting 5 yellow cards, and actually this is the last time he's taking charge because he was on loan, and he'll be going back to Simba in Tanzania. Sofapaka will take on Thika United. Thika United fighting for the 8th position. It won't be an easy tie. FC Leopards currently at the 7th position, taking Tusker FC. These two sides also want to finish high and maybe ensure that all these sides take on and actually be able to get maximum points so as to up their status on the log. Ulinzi Stars, currently at the 2nd position on the log, will just want to spice their play and actually take on Bandari and secure maximum points. Remember, Bandari has been very, very instrumental, currently on the 3rd position on the KPL log. And now to matters international soccer, that is the English Premier League. Chelsea will host Liverpool. A very, very vital match is going to be, because Liverpool want to secure their 2nd victory at home, and let's see how that match pans out. That match will be played on Saturday. Crystal Palace will take on Manchester United. Manchester United have not been the best sides that a player or any fan of United will want to say to see. They have not been scoring as one will expect, but let's see if they'll have the fire to get goals against Crystal Palace. Manchester City, currently the leaders of the English Premier League log, taking Norwich. Man City has been on good form, scoring at will. Maybe they're going to extend their lead on the log as they take Norwich City. Newcastle United, another side that has been struggling, currently at the 19th position on the log. Let's see, maybe it will be that easy, but football is football. Arsenal, they've been impressive, and maybe people are saying that this might be the time that Arsenal might go all the way and clinch this title, but it won't be an easy affair against Swansea. Maybe they'll face another Gomes trouble there, and Andre Ayew might be also on his good form. It won't also be an easy task. West Ham taking Watford. West Ham has been impressive this season. A nice match it will be. Leicester City will be facing Southampton, also a very interesting match we are going to see. Everton United taking on Sunderland. Sunderland is also another side in the English Premier League that has not been that good. They have a new coach, and that tactician is yet to win a tie, and taking Everton on Sunday. Southampton taking Bournemouth. Bournemouth, actually, they were defeated in the Capital One Cup against their tie, but in another tie on Monday, still in matters English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspurs against Aston Villa. Aston Villa also is a side that has not been impressive, struggling. They are missing Benteke, and maybe they might get redemption against the side that they'll be taking on Monday. And with that, we will wind up for today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. Have a lovely night.
Twende kazi, Team Kenya. Join Team Kenya now. Dial *896#. And every time a Kenyan does something worth celebrating, like a try, a win, or an award, you can raise a Tusker to the team.
KTN Weather, in association with More Team Do.
Puma has Mortein Doom, which makes mosquitoes go away and not come back the whole night. So you get a peaceful night's sleep all night long.
Mortein Doom. A peaceful night is a Mortein Doom night.
This is KTN. Welcome home.
A revolution in motor oil. Introducing Shell Helix Ultra. Designed from natural gas with Pure Plus technology. No other motor oil cleans your engine better. Shell Helix Ultra with Pure Plus technology.
How is a legend made? It is made by making the right choice for a start. It is made by going where others don't to find the finest. It comes from being bold enough to give things time when others may not. A legend is crafted